NASA headquarters. Located in Washington, D.C., this is not a hands-on research facility, but the administrative and political heart of the agency. Headquarters is responsible for setting the overall vision and policy for NASA, managing the multi-billion-dollar budget allocated by Congress, and providing top-level leadership for the entire organization. It's where the grand strategy of space exploration is decided before being sent to the field centers to be made a reality. JSC. Located in Houston, Texas, JSC is home to the Astronaut Corps and the iconic Mission Control Center. This is where astronauts are selected and trained, and where NASA has managed all of its own human spaceflight missions from Gemini 4 onward, including Apollo, the Space Shuttle, and the International Space Station. When you hear the call sign Houston, you are hearing Johnson Space Center, the operational hub for people in space. KSC. Situated on the coast of Florida, KSC is the world's preeminent launch and landing site. It is not where rockets are designed, but where they are assembled, processed, and launched. From the colossal vehicle assembly building to the historic launch pads, this is the final stop on Earth for spacecraft and astronauts heading into the cosmos. KSC manages the final countdown and launch operations for NASA's major missions, and today leads landing and recovery operations for Orion crew capsules returning from deep space Artemis flights. MSFC. Located in Huntsville, Alabama, Marshall is NASA's primary center for designing and building large-scale rocket propulsion systems. It was here that Wernher von Braun's team developed the mighty Saturn V rocket that took humanity to the moon, and it continues this legacy today by managing the development of the Space Launch System. If it's a giant NASA rocket, its DNA comes from Marshall. NSSC. Tucked away in the Mississippi buffer zone, Stennis is NASA's primary site for test firing and certifying large rocket engines for its human and robotic spaceflight programs. It is essentially a giant, heavily reinforced concrete complex where engines designed for NASA's big launch vehicles are brought by their manufacturers, bolted down, and fired at full thrust, shaking the ground for miles. For heavy lift rockets like the Space Shuttle and today's Space Launch System, the main engines and core stages have undergone full-duration test firings at Stennis before flying with astronauts. JPL. Uniquely managed by Caltech for NASA, JPL in California is the world's leading center for robotic deep space exploration. It designs and operates the missions that visit other planets, from the Voyager probes that toured the outer solar system to every single Mars rover, including Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, and Perseverance. JPL is humanity's eyes, ears, and wheels on other worlds. GSFC, the hub of space science and Earth observation. Located in Maryland, Goddard is a massive research center that conceives, builds, and manages the majority of NASA's uncrewed scientific satellites. It is the home of the Hubble and James Webb Space Telescopes, and it operates a vast fleet of satellites that continuously monitor Earth's climate, weather, and oceans. Goddard is also the central hub for NASA's global communications and data tracking network. Ames Research Center, NASA's presence in the heart of Silicon Valley. Ames is a high-tech research and development center focused on cutting-edge information technology, supercomputing, and astrobiology. It performs foundational research on everything from air traffic control systems to the fundamental question of, are we alone? Its work in advanced computing and artificial intelligence supports missions across the entire agency, and it is a leader in the scientific search for life beyond Earth. LaRC. As NASA's oldest field center, Langley's roots trace back to the very beginnings of flight. Located in Virginia, it is the agency's premier center for aeronautics and aviation research. Its legendary wind tunnels have tested the aerodynamics of nearly every American aircraft and spacecraft, from World War II fighters to the Apollo capsule and the Space Shuttle. Its mission is to make flight safer, faster, and more efficient. GRC, the experts in power and propulsion for air and space. Located in Ohio, Glenn specializes in the technologies that make things go. Its research focuses on developing more efficient and powerful jet engines for aircraft, as well as advanced in-space propulsion systems like ion thrusters. Glenn is also NASA's lead center for power systems, developing the solar arrays and batteries needed to keep spacecraft and space stations running. AFRC, where experimental aircraft are put to the test. Situated at Edwards Air Force Base in California, Armstrong is where the most advanced and unusual aircraft are actually flown. It is the home of the test pilots. From Chuck Yeager breaking the sound barrier to the flights of the X-15 rocket plane and the testing of the space shuttle's gliding capabilities, Armstrong is where theories of flight are proven in the real world, pushing the boundaries of the flight envelope. Michoud Assembly Facility. Managed by Marshall Space Flight Center, Michoud is an enormous manufacturing plant in New Orleans, where the core structures of NASA's largest rockets are built. It produced the external tanks for the Space Shuttle and now manufactures the massive core stages for the Space Launch System. This is where the giant pieces of the moon rocket are welded together. Neil Armstrong Test Facility. A component of Glenn Research Center, this facility in Ohio houses enormous and unique test chambers that can simulate the harsh conditions of a mission. It has chambers for vacuum testing, extreme temperatures, and acoustics, allowing engineers to subject entire spacecraft and rocket stages to the brutal environment they will face before they ever leave Earth. Wallops Flight Facility. Managed by Goddard Space Flight Center, Wallops is a launch site on the Virginia coast specializing in smaller, more rapid missions. It is the agency's hub for launching sounding rockets for atmospheric research, scientific balloons, and small orbital satellites, providing a flexible and cost-effective alternative to the massive launches from Kennedy. White Sands Test Facility. Managed by Johnson Space Center, White Sands is a specialized facility for testing potentially hazardous materials, rocket propulsion systems, and spacecraft components in a safe, isolated environment. It was also a primary training ground for space shuttle pilots and a former shuttle landing site. GISS. Located in New York City, GISS is a world leader in climate change modeling. It uses NASA's global data to create complex simulations of Earth's past, present, and future climate, providing the foundational science for understanding our changing planet. Katherine Johnson IV&V Facility. The Independent Verification and Validation Program, headquartered in West Virginia, is the agency's ultimate check on mission-critical software. Its job is to independently test, verify, and validate the complex code that flies spacecraft, ensuring it is safe, reliable, and free of catastrophic bugs before launch. NESC. NASA's Technical Conscience and Rapid Response Engineering Team. Headquartered at Langley, the NESC was formed after the Columbia disaster to provide independent engineering analysis for the agency's toughest technical problems. When a mission runs into a critical engineering challenge, the NESC is the Tiger team of world-class experts called in to solve it. Safety Center. The agency's hub for safety policy and culture. While the NESC solves specific technical problems, the NASA Safety Center, located at Glenn, focuses on the broader systems of safety. It manages safety training, audits programs, and works to ensure that the lessons from past accidents are embedded in the culture and practices of the entire agency. NSSC. The Central Engine Room for Agency Operations. Located at Stennis, the NSSC handles the critical business and administrative functions for all of NASA. It centralizes services like financial management, human resources, procurement, and IT support, allowing the science and engineering centers to focus on their core missions of exploration and discovery. Thanks for watching. If you could visit any NASA center for a day, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments. Please also remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.